really excited to be here this evening at this event in Knoxville, all about exploring the realization of human potential. I would like to start by asking you to raise your arm if, and only if, you live each day paying very close attention to your hunches or your gut feel. Okay, that's great. Well, Tim Cook, the new CEO of Apple, made a statement recently, and he talked about how he feels that intuition is a critical element, in fact, one of the most important elements in decision-making when we are making choices, important choices about life. I would like to talk by sharing some stories with you. Firstly, about intuitive living. Secondly, about self-discovery. And thirdly, about seeking affirmation on our paths towards self-realization. I'll start by whetting your appetite with some fascinating stories about intuition. Abraham Lincoln had a precognitive dream about his own assassination. And he was assassinated just a few days after he described this dream to his wife. J.P. Morgan cancelled his ticket on the Titanic. Why? Because he was advised to do so by an astrologer. He actually once said, "Millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do." Very wise man. As you can probably tell from my accent, I wasn't raised in Tennessee. But as a child, whenever I looked at the map of the United States, I was always energetically drawn to this part of the USA. Now, I was led to this part of the world about 3 years ago by what some people would describe as happenstance. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? Happenstance. It's a blend of the words happening and circumstance, meaning a concurrence of events that are not connected. And as a child, I didn't ever believe in coincidence. I believed that everything is intricately interwoven. When I was living in the UK, I was working for an American corporation, and I wanted with all my heart to relocate to the States. I knew it was part of my path. And I knew that I would need the support of the corporation's president of strategy to get an opportunity in the States. But my boss at the time wasn't able to just send me to America on a business trip so that I could meet somebody. But undeterred, I asked the universe to please just find a way to get me on a business trip to the States. Just 1 week later, I was asked by the corporation's finance function to attend a series of meetings to troubleshoot a problem with a corporate banking project. And guess what? The meetings were in the States. But it gets even more intriguing. I was traveling to Wisconsin via a quick stop at the office in Atlanta. And so the chances of me meeting the president of strategy were very slim. Just as I was about to leave the office in Atlanta to go to the airport, a voice inside me said, "Don't take this car. Turn the driver away and wait for the next one." Now, I listened to this voice, and so I followed the instructions. The next driver arrived a few minutes later. We were on the way to Atlanta, and his cell phone rang. And he finished his call and said, "Sir, I apologize, but we need to stop and collect another passenger because my colleague's car has broken down." Can you guess who the other passenger was? It was the president of strategy. And not only that, but when we got to the airport, his flight was delayed, my flight was delayed, and we got to have a wonderful, insightful, useful dinner together. Now, you might be wondering at this stage, well, why do I need to know about this? I'm telling you this story because I'm urging you to embrace intuitive living. I'll tell you another little story that makes the point as well. It's quite a fun one. I was told many years ago by a very wise man in London that I would relocate to a home numbered 1,000. And when I went to the closing of my first property purchase in the States, I was staggered at the realization that the property I purchased was numbered 1,000. I actually bought it because it had a big walk-in closet. And the floorboards matched the color of my cats. It's a true story. Anyway, I'm going to move on and talk now about self-discovery. I realized many years ago that the most complex relationship I'll have in this lifetime is actually with a British guy called Steve Frampton. In other words, I became determined to thoroughly understand myself, to explore why I react the way I do in life, and seeing that as a key to discovering myself and being able to move forward and realize my potential. And it was a fascinating process. And I'm not sure how many of you have stopped to actually reflect upon your personalities, but I encourage you to do so. I can tell you, especially if you're in a relationship, watch out, because in my work, I see more and more clients whose relationships fail to realize their potential because of a lack of self-awareness in one partner or both. Now, my journey of self-discovery went on, and you know, if you've been on this journey, which I'm sure many of you have, you get to the stage where you start to ponder the meaning of life. In other words, why am I here? What am I to do? What are my talents? How can I make a difference in the world? They're important questions. I believe that we are magically encoded with an opportunity to step into ourselves, to become our best selves, to grow, and to make a difference in the world. And I don't hide the fact that I'm fascinated by metaphysical sciences in human development. To give you an example, I'm interested in very in-depth astrology, in-depth numerology, and even channeling. Sometimes information just flows through us. And it reflects the realization that we have access to so much more than our individuality. I know I've forgotten what I was going to say. Isn't that perfect that you get up on stage having well prepared a speech and the fact that things flow through you and then you forget your words? That was obviously meant to be. But I want to tell you, I want to tell you a story about intuition. Not intuition, it's more the signs that life provides to guide us on our way. When I was taking my first, or due to take my first flight from the UK to Knoxville, my grandmother had just passed away. And I stood in the airport at Heathrow and I looked up and said, "Nana, if I'm meant to relocate to Knoxville, please give me a sign." When I got to Knoxville, I took a cab that broke down outside a Hampton Inn, And the part of the illuminated light wasn't working. And it literally said, Frampton, in. That's my name. And I know it sounds silly, but it just blew me away. And I knew that I was meant to come to Knoxville. I'm very, very happy to live here and to be in the States. It's wonderful. But I use these stories just to remind you of these three ingredients on our journey towards self-realization or realizing human potential. I'm always blown away by how intricately interconnected everything is in life. As I said before, I'm fascinated by astrology, and when you look at the positioning of the planets, when you took your first breath in this world, they reflect your essence. They provide a huge amount of insight into who you are, what your natural talents are, and what position you could actually take in the world. It's truly mind-blowing. But I want to encourage you with these stories to just reflect and to take some actions yourself. The first being to take time to meditate when you can, to be in the stillness of yourself and the universe and feel what is happening in my world and how can I be guided to make a difference. The second thing is to focus on self-discovery, really get to know yourself, your personality, your talents, your innate talents. And, you know, on my journey, I realized that God graced us with great strengths, these innate talents that we can use to not only fulfill ourselves and live wonderful lives, but to make the world a better place. So take time to think about that. And then thirdly, I want to encourage you to really slow down and observe the signs that are far beyond coincidence, that most people think are happenstance. Observe them and reflect deeply upon the insights and the guidance that they give you, that the universe gives you as you move forward on your journey of self-realization. I want to thank Alex for organizing this exciting event in Knoxville. I believe that as we come together and share our energy and our ideas at great events like this in TEDxKnoxville, that we can create a synergy that can make the world a much better place, and that we can actually solve together some of the tragic problems that still exist. And each of us stepping into our roles, being more of ourselves, playing to our strengths, and listening to life. This is part of the plan. And I would like to wish you all lots of success, and thank you for listening.